Welcome back to Two Birds, One Stone, an Arizona Cardinals podcast. This is the second annual bye week extravaganza. Hell right. You pumped for the bye week?
Yes, bye week.
Do you know why the bye week rules?
Because we don't have to watch the Cardinals lose.
Hey, you got it, baby. We don't have to watch the Cardinals lose. And, you know, if you're an avid Two Birds, One Stone listener, you remember last year's bye week extravaganza. We were 9-2. We were rolling into the bye. We just beat the Bears in Chicago. Kyler's healthy. Hop is healthy. There was a lot of umph behind it. We had fucking Johnny Venerable from the PHNX podcast on here. That's a big hit. That's big
Good
time.
hair.
You know what else we got? We got another guest for you guys today. There's a lot less umph behind it. We're 4-8. We are a bad football team now, but it's the umph is not due to our guest. Our guest was awesome. Jason Hayes.
This was bad. He was awesome. He was great. Cool accent. Super nice guy. I think you guys will love the interview.
Yeah, he did awesome. Very well informed. He knows what he's talking about. I said it in the interview, but once again, give him a follow at Jason Hayes NFL and also at No Context Cards. That's also his page. Does good stuff. Very good content from him. We got into a bunch of things, but I don't know. Is there anything else you want to talk about that we didn't talk about in the interview? I mean, we got Patriots coming up Monday Night Football. After that, we get to see Russ and the Broncos in Denver.
Looking forward to seeing the Cardinals smash the Patriots. Hopefully that happens because the Patriots have a lot of money here a couple weeks back. So that will be nice. Hopefully I want to see like Zappy come in and then like do really bad and his rep just gets torn to shreds because he lost the game for him. But yeah, and then also our only featured buddy the only buddy that's been featured on the podcast is a Patriots fan.
That's right.
Yep.
Maybe we'd have him on again.
Maybe if he's lucky, we have him on and see if he likes the taste of a loss.
Well, yeah, that's right. But yeah, we'll see. We're down to the home stretch, ladies and gents. 5 games left. What can you say? It's been a lost season.
At this point in the season, we're rooting for like 3 things. A, new uniform announcement.
Oh, can't wait.
B, some sort of Sean Payton hiring. And C, a mix of like a Steve Keim maybe firing or like a big maybe a Hollywood Brown extension. A couple things like that to look out for. That's kind of what we're in the market for the rest.
We're not asking for much. Give us new fucking uniforms. That's all. Keep Cliff and Keim. I don't care. Give me new uniforms. Fuck it. You're probably not going to fire him anyway. You just gave him the extension. Give me some new goddamn uniforms.
Yep.
And ring in a new era, baby. All right. I guess we'll get into the interview after I read a quick DraftKings ad. I almost forgot. That would have been bad.
We love you, DraftKings.
All right. I love DraftKings. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is my go-to when betting on the NFL this holiday season. They've got same-game parlays, easy and fast payouts, player prop options, all of the works. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Check this out. Right now, everyone can earn up to a 100% boost with DraftKings stepped-up same-game parlays. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, place a same-game parlay, and combine multiple bets like which team will win, player props, and point totals, and much, much more. The more legs you add, the bigger the boost, the bigger your shot to win big. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use code TPPN. Place a $5 bet on any NFL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code TPPN. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. I always have to slow down at that last part. It's a tongue twister. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions. That's a lot. I feel like I got
that's a lot.
Cotton mouth. Anywho, like I said, I really hope you guys enjoyed the interview. Jason was awesome. Hope to have him back on soon. Final words, Garrett?
No.
Nope, not a one. All right. Go Birds, guys. Enjoy the interview. Thanks for listening. Like, subscribe, download. Peace.
Comment.
We are now going to welcome on the founder of the very successful Twitter account, No Context Cards. Go give it a follow if you haven't already. If you're not following that page and listening to this show, I doubt there's many people that don't follow it already. But he's also a contributor to the Irish NFL show. Jason Hayes, welcome on, Jason.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me.
First off, I'm not like a big Guinness drinker. Is the interview going to be able to continue from here on out? Is that okay? Is that a deal breaker? Or
do you know what, the quality of Guinness declines rapidly when you leave Ireland. So if you're ever in Ireland, be sure to get one. And I think your mind might change there.
There you go.
I'll leave it past.
Good deal. I'm glad that you have an accent, because that might have been the main reason we had you on. I was like, okay, this guy's from Irish. That's going to sound really fucking cool in the podcast. So I'm glad to hear that. If you didn't have the accent, we might have just had to move on. I don't know.
I'm from Cork, which is down south. So we have a habit of talking really fast. So if you just don't understand what I'm saying, just tell me to repeat myself.
I'll have to tell you to slow down. Yeah. Okay. So you're from Ireland. I have to ask, because obviously there's no NFL teams there. How is the connection to the Arizona Cardinals? Like, where the hell did that come from? Because out of all the teams, the 32 teams you could have picked, the Cardinals have to be in about the bottom 5 or so in terms of like history of success. I got to know where that came about.
Yeah, even like geographically, they're the furthest from Ireland as well. Like they're literally like the bottom left of America. But yeah, well, in terms of like starting to follow the sport in general at first, my brother was always a big fan, and he used to play a bit of American football too. He still does. There's actually a few like amateur teams in Ireland. So I just have memories of Sunday nights being dominated with just NFL on the television, and I didn't care for it at the start. You know, I didn't really understand the sport fully, so it took me a while to get into it. But when I eventually did, it was kind of just a matter of picking a team, and my parents happened to be on holiday in New York, and they just randomly picked up an NFL jersey for me. It happened to be a Matt Leinart jersey.
Oh no!
I know, yeah. So Matt Leinart's the reason I followed the Cardinals in a way.
Of all the Cardinals to make you fall in love with the team, it's Matt Leinart.
I know. It's probably fitting, to be fair, though. I mean,
that's all right.
Yeah.
How does that work? The amateur, like, is there high school football, I would imagine, in Ireland? Is it just like youth camps, or like how does that work?
It's just completely, there's like 12 teams in the country. I'm not entirely sure how it started now, but I think it's roughly 10 or 12 teams or something like that. And just completely amateur, you know, they're always recruiting, trying to get more people to sign up. And we call it the Shamrock Bowl every year. It's like our Super Bowl.
Wow.
Where I think it's kind of a league format. I've never actually played myself now, as my brother plays. But it's kind of a league format until the end. Then there's playoffs and Shamrock Bowl up in Dublin. But it's definitely getting bigger the last few years. It's obviously one of our more niche sports over here. But just the buzz of the NFL and everything happening over in London and stuff is just having a trickle-down effect, and I suppose it's causing even the amateur game to grow. And there's actually European Championships as well recently, where the Irish team went down to Madrid in Spain to play against Spain. And there's some of the quality in Europe is a bit better. There's some semi-pro teams, so you can definitely see it growing year by year.
That's pretty awesome. So, like, as a kid, what is that presence like of the NFL? Because obviously, I'm sure it's grown, but like, obviously, you said your parents came over and your brother, but like, if your brother didn't play, like, did you have friends that were also interested in the NFL or football at all, or were you kind of like, because like in America, there's really only like a couple of my buddies are really big into soccer, like, but there's not like that cult following. It's all football over here. So, were you kind of an outlier in that sense, being an NFL fan?
At the beginning, yeah, I was probably one of the first fans, just out of my friend group and stuff. But it's just growing so much. Like, I have a group chat now. There's I'd say about 12 of us. We all have a fantasy football league going and stuff like that. And like, some of our friends are hooked. It's such an addictive sport once you actually understand it and actually get into it. Like I used to be a big soccer fan, but like NFL has just completely taken over now, and that's just my main priority. I couldn't give two shits. Oh, sorry for swearing.
No, you can say fuck, bitch, shit, whatever you want. Doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, I couldn't give two flying fucks about that.
That's awesome. Well, no, that's awesome to hear because you always see the commercials, you always see like grow the game and all that kind of stuff, but you never really. I mean, we're not there, so you never know what kind of a presence it really has. Because, like I said, it's obviously dominated here for however long it's been founded. So that's cool. I guess we'll get into your Twitter page now. No context cards. It's humongous. It's like I said, one of the more followed like Cardinals based Twitter accounts. And like I wanted to know how you really got that started. When did you really start to see it pick up and kind of grow? I mean, the Cardinals official page follows you. That's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, that was a cool one, all right. Darren Irvin and the Cardinals page followed me on like the same day, so I was like, "Geez, we're making it now." But I suppose I don't know how. My friend actually is a Dolphins fan, and I'll have to give him the credit because he set up a out of context Dolphins page first.
Yeah.
So be sure to give that a follow as well if there's any Dolphins fans. But yeah, he got the idea, and then 2 days later I was like, fuck it, I'll go with you. I'll try it as well. And they're both now. Yeah, I think it's gone over 6,000 now. He has like 7,000 odd followers on his page, so it really has worked more than we initially planned. Like we just kind of did it for fun on the side. There seems to be a no context version of every account nowadays, right. So we said, why not? We'll try it. And I suppose when it started getting big was really the start of last season. It kind of grew a small bit in the first season. I set up in, what's that now? I'm losing track. 2020, I think I set it up. Yeah. But last season with the 7-0 start, the better the team is doing generally, the better the account does because people are excited, exactly. And there's good moments to share. Whereas there hasn't been too much of that this season, so it's slowed down a bit.
Yeah, I mean, we started this podcast and it was like it was the first year doing it last year, and it seemed like after every win, it would get bigger and bigger, and we'd have more and more listeners. And by the end of the season, it was like our audience was half of what it was when we were 7-0. It's like people don't seem to want to hear as much about how your team sucks as when you're kind of killing it. And,
it's completely understandable. Like even
video would have been the first loss that they had against Green Bay. That was like our most listened, and after that it was like bam, straight to the bottom, none. They just wanted to hear all the yeah.
So.
I suppose it's understandable. Like I can even this season now I can feel myself just losing interest.
Yeah.
Like I can't even I didn't even bother watching Hard Knocks during the week now. Yeah. I've just kind of accepted that this season is a failure, and I definitely don't consume as much NFL content myself when things aren't going good.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. I do the same thing. So like I listen to a bunch of American like football, like Pardon My Take. I don't know if you know what that's a Barstool Sports. So like they recap every game. Whenever the Cardinals lose, I don't listen to it. I don't want to hear about all the Kyler video game jokes and he's short and Cliff's a butt. It's like I'd rather just kind of tune all that out. But after a win, that's the first thing I want to go listen to. It's like, yes, let's go. Let me hype them up. Oh, I was so they beat the Saints on Thursday Night Football. And that was the one episode the game they didn't even talk about that week. And I was like, are you fucking shitting me? Like, you finally win a primetime game, and you don't even get to hear a recap about it. But yeah, business is booming when the Cardinals are good. When they're not, we're scrapping and clawing a little bit. So
I know Twitter can become a bit hostile there at times, like, can't it? Just constant arguments these days. I'm trying to even use Twitter less myself.
I know.
I could just post a simple photo, no comments or anything on the Twitter account, and it just sets off arguments with everyone saying, "Oh, he should be fired. He should be cut. He should be." I don't like that kind of element of it.
Oh, it's tough. Yeah, I seen one of the ones you quote tweeted today about a guy just jumping at somebody for no reason, telling him to shut the fuck up, whatever, and you're just like, that. Why you wouldn't say that to that guy's face? So what do you do? What are you doing right now behind your screen, like calling this guy out for just a football opinion? Like it's
exactly,
it's not the end of the world. We suck anyway. It doesn't matter at this point. The season's done. So what's to get all butthurt about it at this point? So yeah, no, that's always an interesting dynamic for sure. So that's how you became a Cardinals fan, and that's how you started No Context Cards. I actually followed No Context Cards first. And then it seemed, I don't know, was it about a year and a half ago? You kind of, I'm sure you already had the page. You kind of came out from behind that account and started to grow your personal one, which I love. If you don't follow now, at Jason Hayes NFL, one of the more level-headed Cardinals follows, always good content. When did you start trying to kind of get that thing going?
I suppose I just kind of. I had the No Context Cardinals account, and I almost felt a bit restrained that I'm not being true to the account if I
there's
share
no
my
context.
opinions
You
on
can't
that
add
one.
context.
Yeah, exactly. And there was the odd tweet I would just go on a rant or whatever, and then people would call me out for using context. So I said, why not just give it a go and try it with my own name, put my own face to my opinions, which feels a bit risky at times. But I just enjoy, like, as much as I enjoy sitting down for the 3 hours and watching the game on Sundays. I just think the NFL is so much more than that. There's so much layers to it, and you can just dive into stats, and I do a bit of writing about it on the side as well. So I just enjoy how there's a game every Sunday, and you can spend the next 3 days thinking about that game and looking at that game, and then the rest of the week is looking towards the next game. Whereas with other sports, I don't generally feel as immersed in the sport as that. I just kind of I sit down and watch a match, and then forget about it.
Right.
But I suppose, just the Twitter accounts with my face on it now is just a way of putting all that energy into something there. I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, I have my own, like, I have my personal, like, Red Sea Trent. That's like my Cardinals page. And then I got my own, like, personal whatever that I've had since I was an 8th grader or whatever it was when Twitter first started growing. And we started this. I mean, we're from Missouri, so it's not, we're middle of the country. Arizona's way over there. So, like, there's not a whole lot of Arizona Cardinals fans around us. And obviously you can relate to that, being from Ireland and now Toronto, right? That's where you're located.
Yeah. Just moved there this year.
So it's like, okay, we'll get this thing going. We'll kind of create. I want to hear from other Cardinals fans. All we can do is sit on the couch together and kind of bullshit with each other. We kind of wanted to grow a little bit and kind of hear and sit down. Like, this is probably one of my favorite things about doing the show. Like, we've had AZ Sports Fiend, Mac, good Twitter follower. I don't know if you know who he is, but we've had him on a couple times. Yeah. We had Johnny Venerable from PHNX. Now it's awesome to be able to have this ability to be like, hey, I'll send you a DM. Hey, you want to get on and shoot the shit about the Cardinals for a half hour or so? Like, sure, let's do it. Like, that's one of the good things. And like you said about the week-long process, it's a constant storyline, whether it's talking about the last game or jumping to the next. It's like a soap opera that you got 18 weeks and there's a new episode every week, and you just keep going. And now with Hard Knocks, it kind of
literally
throws gas on the fire and makes it even worse. But
so are you both from Arizona originally? How did you start following?
Go ahead, Garrett.
Well, we're both from Southeast Missouri. It's like we're like an hour and a half south of St. Louis. And then I don't know if you'll or not, but the Cardinals were from St. Louis. I guess I was at Trent early.
They left in 85 or 86, maybe 87, something like that, late 80s.
Fan of them, so naturally we got cursed into being a fan of them as well whenever they moved, and we all just kind of latched on. So we've been a fan ever since.
I mean, it wouldn't have really done us much better if we were Rams fans. I mean, they left St. Louis anyway, and then
now I guess ever since the one in St. Louis and the one now, so we would have been doing better. Ours are now.
We would have a couple Super Bowls, but that's whatever. What are they, 3-9 now? They're the worst defending Super Bowl champs of all time. Fuck them. Yeah, I'd rather not have a Super Bowl trophy though. But
sure.
No, they look terrible. But I guess we'll get into the season now. What if you were to pick like one thing out of the overarching theme of this season? Like, what has been the main issue with the 2022 Arizona Cardinals?
So I think it's so hard to just put it on one issue, and I think a lot of people try to pin it all on one thing, whether it's Cliff, you have your people blaming it on Kyler, on Keim. I just think it's a little of everything, and the injuries I don't like using it as an excuse, but it's just unavoidable the amount of injuries we've had this year in key positions too, like left tackle DJ Humphries,
right?
Byron Murphy having a great year. Defense is missing him greatly, like interior O-line, Kyler himself, Hopkins obviously with the suspension, and then Marquise Brown. It just feels like straight away from training camp we came into the start of the season with a ridiculously long injury report, and we just haven't been able to shake that at all as the year has gone on. So that's definitely hampered things to a degree, but then stepping away from that as an excuse, The execution on the field hasn't been good enough. And Cliff's play calling also has held the team back a bit, I think. I don't think it's as simple as saying Cliff is an idiot and he's should be fired. I do think he's good qualities too. Like, I think his scheme can work when there's a healthy offense on the field. It's just a very talent-dependent scheme that needs the likes of Hopkins and Brown.
We've seen it work before, so exactly. Yeah, you're not off base there.
Yeah, but I do think he hurts himself when it does come to play calling and just some bizarre calls, whether we're down in the red zone and we just call a pointless wildcat that takes the ball out of Kyler's hands, and or just kind of stuff trying to be too clever or something.
There's definitely that. Go ahead.
I think kind of watching him as his career's kind of progressed with the Cardinals is my biggest thing. Is I feel like in the big situations he just seems to he tends to crumble at times. It just seems like he kind of sorts to, or he just seems to kind of spaz out, like you see Kyler running towards him, calm the fuck down. I feel like that's kind of an insight to what some players in the locker room feel, maybe. But I from the outside looking in, I just feel like he tends to kind of spaz out in the big moments, or in, if they need a first down, or if they need to convert on a fourth down, it seems like he can tend to spaz out a little bit.
I'll never forget the wild card game. Like, you just saw him on the sideline when they got down a score or two. Like, even just the way he stood there and was just rocking and like holding that play sheet, shaking. Like, he just looked like it was in too big for his britches. Like, he didn't have a grasp. He was out of his element. Like, it just looked like the moment was a little too big. And that was just kind of a sign of things to come for this season, I guess. But like you said,
I'm a Cliff believer. I like Cliff. Me and Trent have talked about it here in the past previous episodes. We like Cliff, especially this Hard Knocks. I think has been a good little press run for him. His personality's cool. He's sleek. He's cool. He seems like he's a player's coach. It just it's something is missing, it seems. But like you said, his schemes seem to work, like we saw in the most previous game in that first half. I mean, that was one of the best Cardinal offenses I've seen in a long time. When stuff works and when players are healthy, it works. We just have to A, stay healthy, and B, I think it's key for Cliff to be put have a lead in games. It doesn't seem like he does very well whenever he's behind.
It's just when you get off script, it seems like when he has a good 15, 20 plays, like all coaches do heading into a game, it seems like once we get out of that area and we don't have the lead, everything kind of crumbles. If we got a lead of a touchdown or 10 points, it can hold. You've got to commit to the run and don't stray too far away from the original plan. It seems like once there's a deficit of a touchdown, 2 touchdowns, everything gets too out of whack, too frazzled. So I don't know. Where do you stand on Cliff as a whole? Like, I guess that's the next question. How do we fix this in the offseason? Are you get rid of Cliff guy, or Kime, or both, or what do you see?
I think ultimately the way I'm looking at it, I'm trying to imagine a scenario where Bidwell hasn't given these extensions this past offseason. And then I'm asking the question, okay, well, would I extend them at the end of this year based on what we've seen, just in this imaginary world where they aren't under contract already? And I think just after the season, I think the answer would ultimately be no.
Right.
So essentially, yes, I do think he has to go, especially if there is a proven product like Sean Payton actually interested. I know that could just be complete bullshit now, but if there's a guy like him out there who's proven he can win and has proven he can do it, I don't think there's a single GM or owner in the league who would choose Cliff over him. Right. So I think Bidwell needs to just leave those contracts to the side when he's making that decision. As far as Kime goes, I think he's struggled massively in the drafts over the past few years. But in a weird way, I think despite this 4-8 record, this season has actually been one of Kime's better years in terms of those young guys developing. Like, you've the likes of Zach Allen, Byron Murphy, Marco Wilson, Isaiah Simmons is finally coming up.
Exactly.
Yeah, Stephen Collins as well. Basically, they're all defensive players, which is kind of, I don't see many offensive players having the same development. So I kind of you wonder there whether it's a coaching thing, not being able to get these guys up to speed, or if they're just bad draft picks from the start. Because it does take these young guys a long time to get a full role carved out for them in the team.
That's an interesting point because we had talked about in the past about these young receivers that come in. And Rondale, when healthy this season, he's shown flashes, but there's a track record here of Keyshawn Johnsons and Hakeem Butlers and Andy Isabellas and Rondale Moores, where you take these guys and the young guys just can't get on the field. Is the scheme too complicated? Is the coaching not getting them to a point where they can produce and be successful? Or are they just busts and it's that on time? So it's kind of like you said, it's hard to point the blame at one person when it comes to those kind of things. But
when you see the likes of Robbie Anderson, then though, like we know what he can do and he has the potential. Yet again, it's just they're so slow at bringing these guys up to speed and getting them on the field. You just wonder why. Like, is it just a trust thing, or is the scheme here too complicated, as you said?
Yeah, like what do we give up a 5th rounder for him? Like we just
waste,
here we'll just give away a 5th rounder for. My favorite stat was through 3 games he had 1 catch for -4 yards or something like that. It was like, how in the hell? What are we even doing here? But
another stat, I think he has 2 receptions now.
Yeah, there you
go. We traded away 2 draft picks for him, so we've a pick per reception.
A catch for each pick. There we go. Yeah, so I mean, it's hard to point the finger at one thing, and like you said, but like at least towards like during these last 5 games, as you sit back and watch, like, is there anything that can happen to where you're like, okay, I saw this, that gives me a little more hope heading into next season?
I think with Kyler Murray as your quarterback, you should always be in contention. So Kyler Murray is my hope, and I'm not like blind to say that he's not the problem, because he has regressed a bit this year and he has a few too many bad games. I think his deep ball in particular has just been off all year. I remember he had a wrist injury in preseason, so some are kind of suspecting that might be affecting his accuracy. But like in his first 3 years in the league, he could not miss on those deep balls. They were just the most.
He was one of the best in the league.
Touched, yeah, they were, yeah. So something's happened there. I can't recall a single deep like down the middle or down the sideline reception. Like maybe the odd back shoulder fade here and there, but just like taking the top off a defense has been non-existent this year. But I think Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, and Marquise Brown on the opposite side, whether they re-sign Brown now, you think they would after giving up a first-round pick for him.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah. If 3 of those guys are healthy and on the field, then I mean, it's got to be one of the more appealing destinations for if we are looking for a coach or anything like that. The roster can win if we could just be healthy and just be more consistent. And I know it's easier said than done, but just less of these drive-killing mistakes and penalties.
Yeah. Well, that was kind of one of my main points from last week was, I mean, there were things that looked good on the offense, especially with the key players. Kyler did have a little bit of a spark. You had Hopkins making crazy plays. Marquise Brown had 6 catches. The run game was effective. And then even like you said, on the defensive side of the ball, you've got these young guys that are making plays out there. So in a way, you lost the game. That's a loss. But you looked good for a possible head coach, possibly kind of appealing for a Sean Payton or a DeMeco Ryans or one of those types of sought-after candidates. But you also played bad enough to lose, and sorry, Cliff, get your head coach fired. So that's kind of what I'm looking. I hope to see more of that. You don't want to root for your team to lose. If they rattle off 5 straight and we end up 9-8, that would be awesome. Great, sign me up. But we all have been watching this team. We know that's not likely to happen. So if we are able to put together a decent showing while still losing enough games to get us to move on from this current regime, that's probably my best case scenario. So that's.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I'm never going to root against the team, and I do want them to win, no matter how meaningless these wins are. But in a way, we could be looking back on that game against the Chargers and thinking, okay, that was a perfect result in a way.
Yeah, like we got a lockdown corner at pick 6 because of it, or a stud D tackle. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think this offseason, I'd be fully behind just investing as much as you can in the O-line, because I think that has ultimately held the offense back more than anything else. And I know it has been very injury depleted, but obviously we'll have a few guys retiring probably this off season. Humphreys will be coming back off his injury, and he's playing great ball. Still playing some of the best football of his career. But these could be, I don't know, could it be a more long term thing? I don't know how serious the back injury is, but it's been serious enough to keep him out half the year.
Right.
So I think as much money and draft capital in the offensive line, I'd be happy with.
I wasn't going to bring it up, but Josh Jones has actually played pretty well in Humphrey's absence, but it seems like he isn't playing well at right tackle. So, like, I was going to ask, what would you do with it? But I don't know if anyone here has an answer for that. But, I mean, that's one of the bright spots of the past few games that Humphreys has been out. Josh Jones has played really well, and that's a third-round pick, a higher pick that's actually performing. But now you just don't know what to do with him. You already paid Humphreys. There's no way you can probably cut him and get out of that deal and save a little bit of money. So that's just an interesting little tidbit on the offensive line. Like you said, yeah, 2 people are probably retiring. Justin Pugh had to get dragged out of retirement, it seems like, at this point. Rodney Hudson, I think, has already retired. We just don't know yet. That seems to be kind of my guess on the situation. So lots of questions there up front for sure. What do we want to close with? Do we want to talk about the All Things Covered podcast? Should I even said the name out loud with Patrick Peterson and Brian McFadden?
Kyler Murray is talking about, and I don't like how he's doing that. I think he should keep some things privately, but it tells me he doesn't care about his head coach. And he's putting everything on the head coach, basically saying
Kyler Murray don't care about nobody but Kyler Murray. That's just a matter of the fact.
I want to say one thing about it. I know you can't tell yet because this is just our Zoom screen. That podcast has the shittiest graphics I've ever seen in my life. That's an NFL player. You'd think he'd be able to afford a little bit in the graphics department, but it looks like shit. It sounds like shit. Just a quick, I think we got a few minutes left. Your quick thoughts on the Kyler Murray, Patrick Peterson beef before we go here.
Well, first of all, I think Peterson shouldn't be airing that in public, and it's clear what he is trying to do. He's trying to grow that shitty looking podcast. But I'm big Kyler Murray defender, and I will defend him where I think he's getting unjustly criticized in the media, which he often is. He's often being taken out of context, and I mean that's my job. Like, they should leave me do that. Yeah. But there comes a point where you do have to accept that, okay, there is something going on here. That Patrick Peterson, he wouldn't be saying this for absolutely no reason. Like, he clearly has some basis for having this opinion on Kyler. That said, he was with the team 2 years ago, so I assume Kyler has grown a lot since then. I only saw a tweet there just before I came on.
I was about to bring that up,
actually talked about it, yeah. And in his comment as well implies that, okay, this was a bit of a common thought, but he has improved since then.
Yeah.
And he's acknowledging that Kyler Murray is actively working on it and becoming better in those areas. So it's clear that he has room to improve there, and I think he is improving. And as long as he's putting in the time and effort to make that better, whatever way he could achieve that, I think is a good thing.
Right.
But yeah,
I mean, it's going to be been a slow growth for Kyle, not as quickly as I think we'd all like to see, because we all see the athletic ability and that he was the league MVP favorite through half the season last year. We've seen what it can be. It's just that part of the game that's kind of been stagnant like I said, there's been enough smoke where there's probably a little bit of fire. And even you pointed out the play this season has regressed a little bit. But that doesn't mean we all need to kick him while he's down like Peterson has, or the rest of the media seems to love to do at this point. It's just something that has to continue to get better. And if it doesn't, then, well, he signed through 2028. So we'll just have to put up with that and live with the freakish talent that we have at quarterback. And maybe, I don't know, DeAndre Hopkins or James Conner or one of these other guys can be the vocal leader that we need in the locker room. Who knows? Or fuck, Sean Payton can be the vocal leader. Sign me up for that.
Yeah, I'm sure that's like just like a dream scenario. Sean Payton working with that kind of talent.
Oh, could you imagine?
He'd be like Drew Brees, who can, obviously do a lot more running than Drew Brees. So yeah, sign me up for that if that's what it comes to.
I mean, that was his favorite little toy was Taysom Hill. Imagine having Taysom Hill shrunk down just a little bit, but 100 times the arm talent and quarterback ability. There you go. That's Kyler Murray. And he loves his tape. We've seen that clip from 2 years ago, which I'm sure he still stands behind. I'm sure he hasn't paid any attention to any of the negative press that's came out since then. But no, I think we'd all accept that if that were to be the Cardinals' fate. But Garrett, any last questions for our friend here?
I have kind of an off-base Ireland question. So I don't know if Ireland has king and queens, but I imagine if there was, is Conor McGregor the king of Ireland, or is he like a prince? How's that work?
Well, Ireland doesn't have a king and queen anyway. We won't go down that route because the English, if they had their way, it might be different. But Conor McGregor is very. He's like, what's it, Marmite, is it? Like some people love him, some people hate him.
Yeah.
In Ireland, so the Irish in general, we're very soft spoken. Nobody likes someone who's too cocky and stuff like this. So Conor McGregor is the complete opposite of that, obviously. Personally, I find some of the stuff he says and does funny, and I don't take it too seriously. But it is a very mixed. Like my brother will say the complete opposite now. He hates Conor McGregor.
Anything that you have to ask us, Jason, before we let you go?
No, just I follow you guys as well, and I'm a big fan of what you do. So keep it going. I
appreciate it.
And thanks for having me on again.
Will you come on again if we ask? We might have to have you on for maybe a draft preview or a Cliff is fired celebration show. Would you be down for that?
Yeah, I'll bring the Guinness.
Leave that shit at home. I don't need that. No, all right, good deal. Well, that was Jason Hayes. Again, follow him at No Context Cards on Twitter, at Jason Hayes NFL. And we appreciate you coming on, brother. Have a good one.
That's good.
Thanks.